have real conversations about entrepreneurship, about growth, about leadership, about business, about what it really looks like to build something from the ground up. And today's conversation is probably going to be one of the realest conversations I've ever had in my platform on this podcast. Because what I want to talk about is what people are truly building quietly. 5 pillars that I believe entrepreneurs need to go from idea to income: clarity, how, action, identity, and revenue. But here's the thing. You can have all 5 of these pillars and still struggle if you haven't locked in on the one that's holding everything together. And that's what we're going to talk about today. It's the I, identity. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur now. Everybody has a logo. Everybody has a business page. Everyone is launching soon. Everybody is calling themselves a CEO. But can we have a real conversation today? Because entrepreneurship is not cute when it's costing you comfort. It really isn't. And that's the part that most people don't prepare you for, unfortunately. Nobody talks about the loneliness of entrepreneurship. Nobody talks about what it feels like when strangers support you harder than the people you've known your entire life. We're going there today. Nobody talks about what it feels like when your family will repost a celebrity that they've never met in 2.5 seconds, but scroll right past your business post like they never saw it. Yeah, we're going there today. It's happening. Because let's be honest, some of y'all are out here supporting influencers with millions of followers while your own friends and family are trying to build something from the ground up, and you won't even hit like, share, comment, repost, nothing. And then wonder why entrepreneurship feels so lonely. If you knew what it only cost me to build this business, the nights I've cried, the sacrifices I've made for this little business, the sleep I've lost, the money I've invested, let me tell you something. There is nothing little about building something from literally nothing. And sometimes people minimize what you're building because your growth makes them feel uncomfortable. I told y'all this is going to be different today. Because the moment you start changing, the people around you are forced to look at their own lives. And truthfully, a lot of people stay right where they are because comfort feels safer than change. People stay at jobs for 20 years that they hate because it's predictable. You talk about insanity. People stay in dead relationships because the thought of starting over scares them. People stay broke mentally, emotionally, financially because routine feels oh so much safer than risk. And entrepreneurship, it requires risk. It requires faith. It requires discipline. It requires consistency. It requires believing in something before anybody else ever sees it. And that's why entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. Unfortunately. Welcome back to the Executive Chair, y'all. And today, we're going there. The Executive Chair podcast is where we have real conversations about entrepreneurship, about growth, about leadership, about business, about what it really looks like to build something from the ground up. And today's conversation is probably going to be one of the realest conversations I've ever had in my platform on this podcast. Because what I want to talk about is what people are truly building quietly. The people who are second guessing themselves, the people who are wondering if they should keep going, the people who are feeling completely unsupported, the people trying to figure out if entrepreneurship is for them. And I want to say this, If entrepreneurship has been stretching you emotionally, baby, you're not crazy. You're building something from nothing. That is hard. That is extremely hard, especially when the people closest to you don't fully understand the vision yet. You talk about loneliness. We're there now. Over the next few episodes, I'm going to walk you through a framework that I've built that's called the chair method. 5 pillars that I believe entrepreneurs need to go from idea to income: clarity, how, action, identity, and revenue. But here's the thing: you can have all 5 of these pillars and still struggle if you haven't locked in on the one that's holding everything together. And that's what we're going to talk about today. It's the I, identity. Because who you are as an entrepreneur will determine how far you go. And that's the truth. Now, let's get into this. Let's talk about the loneliness that nobody talks about. One thing people don't talk about enough is how lonely entrepreneurship can feel. Because when you first start, people don't take you seriously. They don't. It's another thing that you're trying. And honestly, sometimes the people closest to you are the last ones to support you. Not strangers, not social media followers, the people closest to you. But this isn't about them. This is about you. But those people who are the closest to you who don't support you, that's what hurts the most. Because you expect your people, your people to clap for you the loudest. But instead, they watch in silence. And I think part of that is because people are comfortable with consuming success. They're comfortable with consuming success more than witnessing the process of building it. People love success stories. They do. But they get uncomfortable watching somebody that they know evolve in real time. Because your growth forces them to question their own stagnation. And that's not your fault or your problem. That's why some people support celebrities before supporting people that they actually know. You know why? Because that celebrity doesn't challenge them personally. But you do. Because they know you. Your consistency does. Your ambition does. Your discipline does. And sometimes, people distance themselves from what convicts them. I told y'all we are going there today. Because these are the conversations that we need to have that nobody had with me while I was building. And let's get into your little business. For a second, can we talk about how disrespectful your little business sounds? Because people say things like that also casually. I saw your little podcast. I saw your little salon. I saw your little brand. I saw your little. Meanwhile, you have no idea what it costs me emotionally, mentally, physically, and for God's sake, financially, to build something. Entrepreneurship will humble you oh so quickly, quicker than you could ever imagine. Because one minute you're inspired and you're flying high, and the next minute, you're questioning everything. You're investing in equipment, marketing, branding, inventory, education, content, you name it. And then when people act like what you're doing is a little hobby, I'm sorry, this is legacy work. I'm building. And I think people diminish what they don't fully understand. Because if they acknowledged how hard entrepreneurship actually is, they would also have to acknowledge just how brave you are for even trying. Stepping outside of the box requires you to be a different person than they've ever seen before. And that's scary. Now let's talk about character, because entrepreneurship exposes your character. And this might be a little controversial, but entrepreneurship exposes your character so fast because business is not just about money. It's not. It's about integrity. It's about consistency. It's about keeping your word. And for God's sake, do what you said you're going to do. And I'm so sorry, but we have normalized flaky behavior entirely too much. Like, this is normal. Oh, she canceled last minute. It's okay. You cannot say you want success, but move inconsistently, excuse me. You can't commit to opportunities and then pull back 3 days before because you found something better. That was shade. It was. That's not strategy. That is poor character. I said what I said. You can't ask people to invest into your brand, your events, your coaching, your vision, but suddenly become financially cautious when it's time to support someone else back. And let me say this. That may sting a little. And I know we all kinds of shady today, but these conversations have to be had. Some people don't want community. They want access. And I need you to know the difference. Community pours both ways. You pour into me and I pour into you and we pour into each other. Entrepreneurship will teach you very quickly who genuinely supports you and who only likes the proximity once they become successful. But you are the gatekeeper. You decide who gets access to you and you decide who gets to watch from afar. And let's talk about why most people never start. The truth, since we are here today, most people never start because comfort is addictive. Predictability is addictive. Routine is addictive. People stay in situations that are draining them simply because it's familiar. They do. And entrepreneurship disrupts that. It requires you to think differently. It requires you to move differently. It requires you to believe differently. And honestly, that's what scares people the most. I'd rather stay in the familiar than to trust what I can't see in the moment. Because when you choose entrepreneurship, there's no guaranteed paycheck. I wish it was, but it's not. Attached to your immediate effort, there is none. No manager validating you, no clocking in and out emotionally, none of that. Now it's you versus your discipline. You versus procrastination. You versus your fear. You versus inconsistently. You versus doing exactly what you said you were going to do. And most people lose that battle before they even begin. We telling the truth today, y'all. I know it ain't fluffy, but this is where we are. Not because you lack talent, but because you lack belief. And right there, belief is exactly what the I in the chair method is about. Identity. Your identity is your belief system in action. How you see yourself determines what you're willing to do, what you're willing to tolerate, how long you're willing to stay in the game when it gets hard. And most people don't have a strategy problem. They have an identity problem. They're trying to build an empire while seeing themselves as someone else who's just trying something new. That mindset alone has to shift if you're going to grow as an entrepreneur. Consistency, that's the real flex. And can I be honest? Consistency is more impressive than talent. It is. Consistency, because talent without discipline goes nowhere. Nowhere. But consistency changes lives. Consistency builds legacy. According to business statistics, did you know that nearly half of businesses don't survive beyond 5 years? Why? Because entrepreneurship gets hard. Very hard. Harder than we are even comfortable with having a conversation about. And people quit too early. They stop posting too soon, stop marketing too soon, stop believing too soon. Everybody wants overnight success, but nobody wants overnight work. And social media has made entrepreneurship look faster than it actually is. I told y'all Instagram is fake. I keep saying it. Most successful entrepreneurs work for years, building quietly before people even notice them. Years, not days, not weeks, not months, but years. And that's why comparison is oh so dangerous, because you're comparing your beginning to somebody else's middle. Baby, we're in two different places at two different times. You can't compare yourself with what someone else is doing because you don't know how they got started. Now, let's talk about what to do when people don't support you. Let's talk about the solutions. Let's not cry about the problem. What do you do when your friends, not just your friends now, your friends' friends don't support you? When your family ignores your business? When people minimize your vision? Keep going. Keep building. Stop measuring your worth through other people's validation, because guess what? They ain't doing nothing anyway. Because if you consistently need applause to stay motivated, entrepreneurship will break your heart expeditiously. People may never support you because they only understand success once it's obvious. And that's human nature. People love outcomes. They love, but very few people honor the process. Stay in the process. Stop taking it so personally. They aren't your audience. They aren't your support. Stop begging people to support what they've already seen. Protect your energy. Stay focused. Stay consistent. Lock in. Because eventually, your work speaks louder than their explanations could ever. Stop begging for support. Stop being upset when they don't clap. Stop being upset when they don't share. That's why the Executive Chair podcast matters to me, because every entrepreneur who sits in this chair has a story people never saw. The tears, the doubt, the pivoting, the rebuilding, the sacrifice. And I think we need to be more honest about conversations around entrepreneurship. Not just a curated success. Real entrepreneurship. The kind that stretches you, that builds you, that breaks you, and that rebuilds you again. And that's the whole reason why I built the chair method, because every pillar matters. Clarity, how, action, revenue, but none of them work if the I isn't solid. Identity is your foundation. You can have the best business plan in the world and still self-sabotage your way out of success if you haven't done the internal work first. The executive chair does not just represent a seat at the boardroom. It represents who you had to become to even have a right to sit there. And that's becoming. That's the work that we're doing here today. Are you ready to do the work? So if you're listening to this episode today and wondering if entrepreneurship is for you, ask yourself this. Can you stay committed without applause? Can you keep showing up when nobody, and I mean nobody, reposts you? Can you stay disciplined when results are slow? Can you believe in your vision before the world even validates you? Because entrepreneurship is not about rebuilding a business. It's about rebuilding yourself. And that's the part that nobody talks about enough. And if you're at a starting point, I put together a free guide that breaks down all 5 pillars of the chair method with reflection questions designed to show you exactly where you're stuck at. It is in the description. Grab it. It's for free. And if you're ready to go deeper, I'll see you at the top. When I first got started in my business, I had no roadmap. I had nobody guiding me. I had nobody showing me what I was doing and if I was even doing it correctly. I had God, I had my husband, and I had the vision that I had inside of my head. And that was all that I needed, and that was all that mattered. So if you are going back and forth about whether to take this ride or not, let me leave you with this. We don't get to do this life thing over. You got one shot. So in your one shot, take a gamble. Take a risk on you. Do something you've never done before. Do something your family has never seen before. Because that $1,000,000 idea that's in your mind that keeps you up at night, that service that you've been playing with for oh so long, the conversations that you build around people, have around people who have no clue about what you're talking about, but burns inside of your soul, God blesses you with creativity. What are you going to do with it? It's completely up to you. The Executive Chair is a place where stories build strategy and where strategies build legacy. Until next time, y'all, the Executive Chair.